Mr. TwistyShape. Welcome to the Gamer Life podcast, my dude.
What is up,
Let's
buddy? How's it
go.
going, man?
Yes,
I'm
he's here.
stoked, man.
Dude, yeah. I've been like planning this, like evil planning for a long time, but I got some practice under my belt with a lot of these convos because I wanted to do you justice, man. Let's get the horn
Thanks, dude.
tooting out of the way. I like your stream. I stop by whenever I can. It's difficult because we have a similar schedule, don't we?
We do. It's rough, man.
But I do try to stop by, and I kind of feel I get this like camaraderie feeling that almost like you're on your own journey. It's kind of like a parallel journey to mine with streaming. You got your own thing. It's almost like we're both playing Neo 2 and you're doing like, a heavy axe build and I'm doing like a dual katana thing. But, sometimes we help each other, and it's kind of cool to see also your milestones, man. It's the one thing I don't get with the resentment sometimes when someone sees someone else's success. Right, I'm stoked. Right, when you post something, hey, we broke this thing. I'm like, fuck yes, right? That's awesome. But
Dude,
but
I
yeah, how do you
couldn't agree
feel
more.
about that, dude?
I'll be straight. Like, there are some people out there, I'm like, man, as if they broke that milestone. What the fuck? But then there's certain groups of people where I see it and I'm like, yes, I'm hella hyped for them. And you are definitely one of those people in that group, as well as a couple of others. When I see their milestones break and I see them doing really well, I'm like so jacked because you see how much work people put in, and seeing them get something from it is legit.
Yeah, man. So what's going on your channel? What are you doing this week? And also, people, just make sure people can go to that link there to check you out. So what's going on this week?
This week, at the moment, we're playing through Witcher 3 as our main game. So you can catch me live 4 days a week: Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday. So as of Monday, we're continuing with Witcher 3 and Geralt of Sexy Rivia, as he's quickly becoming known because he's awesome and gravelly, and I love him. And at the same time, every Friday is FML Friday, where I play a From Software game. We played some Bloodborne yesterday, where
That was truly FML. I caught the VOD of that. Holy crap.
Dude, I've found myself. I'm doing the DLC at the moment, the Old Hunters DLC.
Yeah.
And dude, it's got to have some of the hardest bosses I have ever played against in any From Software game. Period.
It has my top. It's so funny because my top 3 worst bosses are in the DLC. So now that you've done them, I think I can say so. Vicar, Lawrence, the one you were fighting yesterday, probably like my least favorite, or like
I
hated it.
He's just not fun.
Yeah, and then Orphan of Chaos. I love. Is it Chaos? Yeah.
I haven't got to him yet.
I haven't gotten to him. Okay, I think you'll like that boss. It's tough though. And then there is also, what is the one that gives you the moonlight sword? That's like a beast.
That was Ludwig.
Ludwig, thank you. Yeah, you did. I saw you do that one as well. That one was tough for me, but I think you did it pretty quickly. Yeah.
Nah, he beat me hard and not in the way that I enjoy. He kicked the crap out of me, but we managed to beat him in the end after but I found myself getting more and more outraged by this guy until it kind of clicked. His second phase, super chill. His first phase, hated it.
Yeah, absolutely. All the like rabbit beasts are pretty like difficult to figure out in the game. But big hello to everybody. We can't get to all the messages, but Ridrick's mini partner and, of course, Chrissy here. It's cool because Chrissy, of course, is your mod, right? And here in my channel, Corrido is my mod. And there's a special, like, it's so cool when someone, believes in your shit so much that they want to, like, become a mod. And I know Chrissy does the same with you, where it's not just that, she's modding your chat. She also like, spitballs ideas with you, and you guys like, brainstorm things and behind the scenes. So
yeah, dude,
that for me like has been one of the coolest surprises to get people to engage with your stuff to that level. How has that been for you? And I know also your partner Emma, the wonderfully talented Emma. I'll also drop a link for her stuff because she's an awesome artist, and I know she does a lot of stuff for your channel.
She does. She does all my emotes, and any art that I ever ask for, she ends up knocking out the park whenever I get it. So highly recommend it. Her commissions are open, by the way. Shameless plug. So, dude, when it comes to my mods, I was really lucky when I first started streaming because I had 3 or 4 friends whose idea it was for me to actually begin streaming. And when I asked if they wanted to be mods, they leapt at the chance. And a lot of these people I've never, like a couple of these people I've never met, like IRL. They've just been gaming friends for a long, long time. And they hopped on board pretty much immediately as soon as I started streaming. So I was very lucky that my mod team has always been like 4 to 5 people strong. And then just through this journey over the past 3 years, but more so since 2020, which is when my streaming really started to come into its own place and it hit a bit of a stride. I had some phenomenal people join me, such as Chrissy, Ridrix, who's in chat as well, and a number of other people who basically bolstered my mod team to the point that it's kind of gone beyond that now. They're more of my dev team, as it were. If ever I've got like an idea or a plan or a direction that I want to head in, I'll generally bounce the idea off them and spitball it a little bit to make it less of a foundational idea and more of a fleshed out idea. And I get some cracking feedback from them. And then there's also these times where I'll be like, nah, you're wrong. And I'll do it my way, and my way won't work. And I'll do it their way, and their way will work, which has happened like so many times, specifically with Chrissy's ideas. And then I get the smug, yeah, told you so. And I'll never live it down.
Yeah, you're a smug motherfucker sometimes. I love that. But yeah. But also, like, with you, because you have Emma, your partner, right? Was there... Yeah. I'm a bachelor, so I never had to worry, you know, with the big commitment of, like, streaming and stuff. For you, was there a conversation where you sat her down and you were like, hey, I'm going to do this thing. It's going to take a lot of hours. It's going to be weird because I'm talking to myself. Like, how was, I guess, her reaction to that?
So she was one of the original people that pushed me to stream. When I first started 3 years ago now. And when the first idea was pushed, it was pretty chill because we weren't living together. I only saw it the weekends, so I made sure I had time for her. And now when we live together, it's a little bit more stressful in some situations. There's definitely a big give and take where, like, you know, 4 days a week, I disappear for 3+ hours into my office. She watches like a lot of my streams and she's always there in chat, but she's not really into a lot of the games that I play. The main wear and tear or the main sort of times where the give and take is really a big thing is when I want to do something outside of my normal schedule, or if stream has impacted me or hit me hard. So we've all been there where we've had like a poor stream where we've come away and say our average is like 20 viewers or something like that, and we come away with like, you know, barely hitting 10 and stuff, and it hits us pretty hard. She's generally been the person to pick me up after that fact. So as much as it's a give and take time wise, she's always in my corner when it comes to bad situations, and if ever she needs me, I can cancel the stream. So where it is a balancing act, it's a good balancing act, and it's something that we've perfected pretty quickly. It helps that she's a gamer as well.
Oh yeah,
like right now while I'm here doing this, she's playing League of Legends.
Right, yeah.
So like she's got her own things going on as well. So it's never too bad. We quite like our own space, and I'm very lucky in that regard. But I can imagine with other people who have girlfriends who maybe don't understand gaming or like being together a lot, it can be rough, to say the least.
Yeah, and one of the things that I find cool as well, you're pretty open with, you know, like sometimes if you're going through a rough patch or something, you just say it, right? It's not like you try to pretend everything is nice and dandy, because everybody notices immediately if you do a stream and you got this like fucking negative energy on you, right? So I think you got the positive mindset of just being open about it and sharing like, hey, I need a day. Right.
Yeah.
Or a couple days, and people seem to take that pretty well. So,
dude, like the heroes, as I call them, or the Hall of Heroes, which is my community, like hella supportive when it comes down to that sort of thing, specifically around mental health. And I'm a pretty big advocate
Right.
for men's mental health. Not above anybody else's, but I being a man myself, as you may have noticed, I'm definitely sort of an advocate for that, because there's a lot of guys out there who's like, oh, men don't get sad, men don't have mental health issues and stuff like that, and I don't like that. So I feel like if that's something I'm going to uphold, I need to uphold it in my actions as well.
Yeah,
so
you need to
I make
lead
sure
by
to,
example and show people that you're affected by that shit as well, and it's perfectly normal. I like that as well. I'm also a big proponent of just making it normal to talk about that stuff, because for so long it's been a stigma, as you say, especially for dudes, right? Because we're hashtag real men don't cry. And it's such a big thing for me growing up in Brazil. That was huge, this like masculinity, almost to a negative extent, I guess. So it's been an adaptation to like figure out that no, we're human too, and we we get the blues as well. We need some time to figure shit out.
Very much so. And I definitely think in the circles that we work in terms of like streaming and putting content out there, is you're always putting like a little chunk of yourself out there. And if you are in a bad place, putting a chunk of yourself out there, and if it's not reacted to well, or if the stream, if you're having a bad mental health day as it is, and then you stream and the stream goes badly and there's not enough viewers as you expect there to be, or a game glitches out, or whatever, that can hit like an absolute truck. So I'm always very, very keen and very aware to step back and go, actually, I'm gonna take some time here and not actually stream right now.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So what are some of your tools? You've already mentioned, Emma helps you with kind of, bouncing back from those downs, from those lows. But do you have any other like tools or systems you have to help cope? Is it like meditation? Do you do anything like that?
Generally I have like a selection of games that I purposefully don't stream.
Mm-hmm.
So there'll be like a set of games that I always fall back to that are my games. I'm kind of bad in some regards, because if I'm in a shitty place or having a shitty time of things, my go-to option is turn off my phone, shut my door, and just hunker down with like a game or something. And I'm trying to get out of that. So generally, at least in lockdown, what our go-to thing is getting some bad food and a bad film, and just enjoying that, and just having some time away from the situation. I have an awful habit of, if there is something wrong, figuring out what that wrong thing is and fixing it. But sometimes it's just not possible, specifically in like streaming and stuff like that. You can't fix something in streaming because a lot of times streaming is so all over the place. So I tend to get into a bit of a tailspin, always trying to want to fix stuff.
Yeah.
So instead, I find it better just stepping away from the situation entirely and focusing on something else, whether it be a bad horror film or a game that I enjoy or something like that.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. And I think in the past you've spoken about kind of games helping you earlier on in life as well. Like I think in high school you mentioned you've dealt with like bullying and stuff, and I have as well. So it kind of spoke to my own experience. But could you give us like a quick superhero backstory there? Like how did you go? How did you go from that kid, I assume struggling in some way in high school with that stuff, to the place you are now?
Yeah, sure. So very quickly, I suffer from multifoveal hip dysplasia, which means that the joints in my hips aren't correct. Without going into detail, that meant that I spent a lot of time in and out of hospital in younger ages, sort of around 12 to 16. I spent a lot of time on crutches or in a wheelchair and everything like that. And obviously, when you're in school kids are cruel. Generally, if you're the kid in the wheelchair, you're an easy target. So throughout all of hospital, all my time in hospital, I was playing the video games they had there while healing, because I couldn't exactly do anything else.
Yeah.
So the video games were like a big sort of hideaway for me. And then when I got to school, and school was generally rough because of the situation, again, I just gravitated more towards video games than anything else, because people don't really want to hang out with the. I want to make it into a sob story, but this is the truth of it. People don't really want to hang out with a guy who's in a wheelchair and everything like that.
Yeah,
so
there's a whole like
games,
weird status thing in high school.
Yeah, 100%. I managed to get over that and through lots of physiotherapy and everything like that. So I now walk and I'm physically able now, thankfully. But because of that turmoil and turbulent experience when I was going through school, I did get a huge love for video games, and that has continued and blossomed into a love for movies and comics as well. Just because they are obviously, if you're into video games, you generally tend to walk in similar circles as movies and comics as well. And it just kind of went from there, really. And basically, I played video games with a lot of people through different communities and found a large group of friends through a game called Ark. Sorry, not Ark, APB, where we played in a clan called Ark. And basically, I stuck with these friends for a while, and they mentioned one day that I should try streaming, and yeah, that's literally how we started. Somebody suggested it, and I was like, yeah, why not? I got nothing else going on. I've always wanted to get into YouTube and stuff like that, so
yeah,
go for it,
dude. That's awesome that you were able to, to like get over it with just physiotherapy. That's really cool. As someone who also has struggled with mobility stuff and still does, but I think that stuff as much as it sucks, it kind of gives you some perspective, right? Because that's so bad that, all the trivial things that people worry about at that age, for you, just seem silly, right? Like, like someone having a crush on someone and being like, oh, right? Or, having some, do you know what I mean? Like all the stupid shit 100%. People worry about. And that's what I get from you sometimes. So just to wrap that up, like when you speak about some of the like drama that goes on nowadays with whether Twitch or Twitter, right? The way you speak about it is almost like you got that perspective of like, hey, there's real shit in life that actually matters, and this is not it, right? So that's what I get from you there.
Yeah, I don't get me wrong. I love a good bit of drama as much as the next person because it's like watching a car crash. But I definitely stand on the sidelines and kind of observe. I'll weigh in a lot of times, but a lot of times the drama just boils down to people just being dumb or narcissistic and just so wrapped up in their own bubble that they don't realize what's the bigger picture is there. I think when you go through stuff as a younger person, when it's like hospital or illness or anything like that, you do mature a lot quicker than a number of people out there, just because you have to deal with stuff before your time to deal with that sort of stuff. And when you get into situations like streaming where there's a lot of drama and there's a lot of conflicting opinions and people just being nasty to each other for the sake of being nasty and clout, it is very easy to just stand back and go, hang on, no, we're grow up. We're all adults here. And I don't think quite many people have clicked that we are all adults here.
Right. Yeah, 100%. There was this piece of drama that came up this week about the Stream Coach Academy that everybody, that thing had red flags from the start. You and I already talked about that. And, some nasty stuff came to the light of day there. So we don't have to get into that because I know I also heard you speak about it yesterday in your stream. I caught the VOD. But one thing that interested me was you said something key, which is you can't teach someone how to be a good streamer because you can teach them all the necessary conditions. Well, I'm paraphrasing now, but it's something like you can teach them all the necessary conditions, but not the magic, right?
Yeah,
so
agreed.
You can have a great camera, you can have a great setup, good sound, and you can still suck as a streamer because maybe you're not entertaining, you're not engaging in how you talk about things. So what is it for you that you focus on, or I guess that you identify as like your strengths that you bring to bear as a streamer?
That is a question. It's one of those questions that I have asked myself internally so many times.
Right. It's a difficult one.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those questions when someone's like, "Oh, what makes you different from?" So for instance, if people were compared to put me and you next to each other, it's like, well, what makes you different from Johnny? I'd be like, I've got hair. I don't know. don't know what I'd really.
Got gray hair. Listen, just to be, you would have been all right without that hairline. I'm not saying it's unfair, but like you would have done all right with just a beard. Do you know what I mean? You didn't need that hairline. But I'm not salty. I'm not salty about it.
I keep thinking about shaving it off just to join the club, but I don't know. Yeah, like I suppose when it comes down to it, is I don't know. I have an ability to flick between serious and lighthearted with ease, and bring topics like that to the forefront, and actually have a conversation about stuff which is open-ended. I'm not a judgmental person, and all my streams are welcome to anybody. But in terms of what I've focused on, I tell you, one of the biggest things that I've focused on to make as a streamer, to make myself better, is to stop giving a shit as much, basically.
Right.
Like I've spent so many times as a streamer and so long as a streamer where it's like, I don't want to upset anybody because I might lose viewers. Oh no. And now as I've kind of got into it, I've realized actually sometimes it's worth it.
Yes.
Like sometimes there are people that come into your streams and you have to not care about losing them as viewers to actually be like, hang on, you're an arsehole, go away.
Yeah. And also you want people to like you for the right reasons. You want them to like you because of you and what makes you unique. And if they don't, you actually want them to just move on, right? And find their streamer. You want to have like a condensed group of people that actually really like.
Yeah, 100%. A lot of the time it is very much like to think of a good way of really putting it is you have to sift through the viewership that you do get. And a lot of the time I've spent throughout my time of streaming, specifically early, I would spend so much time actually kind of eroding who I was as a person to please randomers who used to come into my stream. Right. And I realized that that's not why people watch me.
Exactly.
People watch me because I've got a dark sense of humor. I know a lot about video games. I'm not exactly trash at them either. And we can have discussions about the video games and about lives and about everyday goings on that are lighthearted, but also poignant at the same time. And I think that's a big strength of mine, is having a conversation but keeping it entertaining at the same time, regardless of what it's about. Like we played The Last of Us 2. The Last of Us 2 is this big game that had so many topics that really divided people and were hard to talk about. A lot of topics that were just straight up difficult to talk about, such as the reasoning behind good and evil and everything like that, and what good and evil actually are. But one of my strengths that I like to think is that I can dumb that conversation down and have it in an honest way and in a straightforward way that people can understand and can be involved in. And that's the thing about getting people involved. So many people spend time these days, especially with lockdown, they don't talk to nobody for days at a time. Yet my streams are about coming together and enjoying, specifically for a mature audience, because let's be face it, I'm like 30 now. If someone comes in and they're dropping like yeet in the chat and asking me to dab, I don't get it. I still barely understand what a dab is, frankly.
Right.
But so like I like making this environment that people are coming in and being like, oh, I love this game, let's talk about it for a little bit. I love this comic, let's talk about it for a little bit. I love this movie, let's talk about it, and everything like that. And but also bringing a positivity to it. Like the world's just so like, everything's dour and everything's sad now. But having a bit of fun with it at the same time.
Put in like a slightly positive spin to it.
Yeah, 100%. And I think, like, I'm never going to be an MLG gamer, so I never really aim for that anymore. As much as I play League of Legends competitive, I ain't never going to get to the upper echelons of that, which is why I'm a variety streamer first and foremost, with action and adventure games. It's my favorite genre. They've got good stories that are fun to talk about and divisive. So yeah that's probably a bit of a winding response to that question. But
no, I think that makes a lot of sense. I think one of the things as a viewer that I can tell you do well, and not a lot of people pay attention to this, is actually like body language. Have you thought about this at all?
No, not even slightly.
So I've studied body language, and like because this is back from my academia days, to do presentations and stuff, right? In a room full of people. Now, body language is important. You want to keep people with you, right? And keep people interested. So I developed some habits of like, how you move your hands, how you look at people, how you engage, how you, when you say a word, you move your hand at the same time. There's so many little things. And you got a lot of that I guess comes naturally to you because you're saying you haven't really looked into it. But you have a way of speaking with emphasis and like you're actually speaking to the person, I think that's why maybe people feel like you're just having a conversation with them because it does feel like you're just addressing them in this, natural way. So there you go. I think that's part of it, man. That's part of the magic.
Never even thought about that. That's cool to think about. That is a massive compliment. Thank you.
Yeah. But good. Another thing, because forgive me for picking your brains, but there's a lot of like streaming stuff that I think about, and I can't ask a lot of people, but you and I play a lot of Souls games.
Yeah.
And those games can be tough to stream because, we've all been in the situation of being stuck in a boss. You had this yesterday where, this annoying boss and you just keep getting tilted and maybe you play worse as a result as well. And there's only so much you can say about the game when what you're doing is like corpse run to the boss, die to the boss, and retry.
Yeah.
So at some point you gotta like switch to your own monologue or something different, or even consider maybe moving on at that point. And I think the key for me, the key is like when I stop having fun, because then I know the energy of the show is gonna go down, right? Because if I'm not having fun, I can't like manufacture it for other people. So for you, how do you deal with that? Like, let's take the example of, yesterday's show where you were in this annoying as fuck boss bullshit, shouldn't be there, 100% is a disaster. So how do you deal with that? And how do you think about that situation?
So I admittedly kind of got to the point yesterday where I was like, man, is this actually fun for people? Are people actually enjoying this?
Right.
And I've had the discussion with my mods since, where it's just like, is this fun? I mean, literally the admin chat was somebody asked me on the stream, was good. I was like, it was good, I think. I mean, we killed like different bosses, but when we came back to the Vic, we kept dying. And literally I was like, it still baffles me that people find me being a salty bitch entertaining, but apparently they do. And I think it's the key thing between an entertainer and somebody who isn't an entertainer is when you get to these annoying situations is putting some joviality into it and making it a fun situation. There's nothing wrong with getting angry and being salty and showing that emotion. Hell, that's why a lot of people who watch From Software games are in your stream, is to see you get pissy. Like, there's no greater feeling than seeing, like, this large bearded man become a pissy little child because a virtual demon has kicked his skull in a couple of times. But there is a way of doing it that I think that still makes it fun. And that's like, for me, for instance, when I get pissy, my way of dealing with it is by stringing together just the worst vocabulary and shouting at the boss. I think at some point yesterday I called him a flaccid penis because it was just what popped into my head. And I think that's like the best way of doing it is by, yes, you can be a salty bitch, but you have to make it fun to observe. Like, I'm definitely not somebody who will sit there and slam their controller down until it breaks, or
it doesn't get
physically
doesn't
abuse
get to
my
you
surroundings
at that level.
Yeah, like, don't get me wrong, I'll throw my controller down in frustration and in front of that. But I think that's fine. But it's when that frustration starts turning into anger, where people will start stepping back. People like seeing people being a little bit frustrated because it's kind of, you get a bit of a giggle, like a good prank or anything like that. But the second you start seeing anger is the second it becomes like an awkward situation for the viewer more so than anything else.
I agree.
And I think another way of doing it is to change your approach to the boss. Like, if your approach isn't working, discuss with your audience why it isn't working, or channel that frustration into something else. Like, I remember getting towards the boss yesterday, and literally, if somebody came into the chat and mentioned anything, I would make it a point to elaborate, to be like, I'm going to take a break from this boss and focus on what you just said in chat. And I would be like, having this conversation is more fun than fighting this boss again.
Yeah.
And I'd make a point of that to make fun out of it.
Uh-huh.
And I think that's the best way to deal with a frustrating situation, rather than turning it into a thing where you're losing fun Look at how you can turn other avenues, not specifically the boss, into something fun.
Yeah, exactly. Keeping it fun for you as well, because like I said, the moment it becomes a drag for you personally, it's gonna go downhill from there.
I think a boss like that will always become a drag for me. But I think one of the common sayings in my stream now, which I need to make some merch of, is "Mama didn't raise no bitch." So like everyone's like, "Oh, you need to move on to another boss, or you should just drop it and leave it and come back to this boss later." And I'm like, "No, Mama didn't raise no bitch."
I like it.
Because I
love
it.
Walk away I'm gonna steal that. Yeah, awesome. Yeah, Jam and Pandamatic. What's up, guys? Yeah. Dude, yeah, that's a good point. You know what I've thought, because now I'm playing Neo 2 and I'm 100% ready to go into those situations. One of the things that I have planned is if it gets real bad, you know, like I'm full on just stuck. What I'll do is I'll take a break and play a chess game. I've been getting into chess a lot.
Okay.
And people have been enjoying that. So, you know, take a break, play a chess game for 5-10 minutes, wind off a bit, and then go back to it. But what you mentioned makes sense, dude.
Yeah, I didn't I don't really step down from games like that probably as much as I should. I should probably consider that a little bit more. I used to use a thing called Stream Raiders, which used to be really good for taking that break.
Right.
But I found Stream Raiders to be quite irritating after a while, just because I'm not a big fan of this stop-starty kind of thing. And I generally find that I have to keep. I don't know what's wrong with me. Whether it's because
you're a stubborn guy, right? I get that from you. Like you need to do the thing.
Dude, I ended that stream with that boss still alive yesterday, and
I could tell it hurt you inside.
Dude, I legitimately had trouble sleeping because I was like, that boss is still alive. I need to beat him. This is annoying me.
Yeah.
And I just couldn't. I'm still sat here now thinking about stream tomorrow, and like on stream tomorrow we should be playing Witcher, but I'm playing more Bloodborne because that boss is still alive, and as far as I'm concerned, we don't stop playing Bloodborne until that boss is dead. Otherwise, it's gonna irritate me like nails on the chalkboard.
Yeah, the thing that irritates me about those games is that for me it doesn't always work just to throw more hours at it. It gets to a point sometimes where it's like a stone wall, and I need to actually sleep. And then on the next day, I'll come in and like 2 or 3 tries, I got it.
Dude, I can't. We were stuck on a boss. I'm pretty certain we were stuck in like a Dark Souls boss because we're doing all of the From Software games. So we started with Dark Souls 1, Bloodborne, Dark Souls 2, Sekiro, and then Dark Souls 3, and then Demon Souls. And we were stuck on a boss, and I swear it was a Dark Souls boss for quite some time. I woke up, got onto stream, and beat it. So the very next stream after struggling against this boss, I came on and I beat it in like 1 or 2 tries. I can't remember which boss it was, but yeah, just demolished it just like that.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. Sometimes you gotta give yourself that break.
Yeah, sometimes I definitely think you need it. I think you get to a certain stage where your patience is so worn thin.
Yeah.
That you are making mistakes because you're angry at this boss or you're irritated by it all.
That reminds me so much of that fucking game. Getting Over It with Bennett Foddy.
Yes.
Do you know that game?
I know it. I'm so glad I haven't played it on stream and have absolutely no intention to.
Oh my god. Okay, the only way to describe it is like getting kicked in the nuts and like going back for a second serving over and over.
Yeah, I've seen a few people play it. I think I watched you play it a little bit as well, and just no. It
gets to a point. It's like taking the Souls thing to the extreme, where you get so tilted that you're unable to do the most basic things in that game at some point. Yeah,
I can imagine.
Anyways, that was just an interesting tidbit to raise. But let's move on to Souls a little bit. I just wanted to ask you, because you're a fan of difficulty. So I know you play games in hard a lot of times. You do, 100% runs. So you put in the effort, right, to get good at games, let's say. So for you, how do you feel about this idea of creating easy modes for games like Souls? What's your hot take?
This has been a point of contention for me and Emma, because she's very much that every game should be playable, and I'm very much of the camp where it's like, no, hard mode should exist for a reason. And my original view on it was very much like every game should be accessible for everybody,
Yes.
but not every game should be completable by everybody unless they're willing to hit that skill cap or that skill ceiling. And in some respects, I do kind of stand by that. But the argument is, does it take anything away from my experience of the game if there is an easy mode? And no, it doesn't. And if I'm of the camp that if it was to be added tomorrow, I would not be going to forums to express my displeasure of the entire change.
Yeah.
Do I think in some ways it devalues the time and effort that a lot of people have put in? Yes, 100%. Like, for instance, if I beat Bloodborne tomorrow after the blood, sweat, and tears that I've had to put in to get through that game, and then Monday they added an easy mode, which made all the bosses, including the DLC bosses, easier, I would be upset. I would be pissed off because it does devalue what I've done. But if, say, for instance, when they released Demon Souls and it was a brand new release, remaster of the game, and that came with an easy mode built in from the get-go, I wouldn't be that fussed. And I think I stand by that. I don't think they should go back and add an easy mode to like previous titles, but if they wanted to do it in future, power to them. As long as every game is accessible by everybody, be it somebody who can't use a normal controller due to disabilities, or needs something, a little less fast because of mental agility, then fine, great, do it. Why not? But don't decrease the difficulty of games that have already been out there for a specific challenge for people. And I must admit, one of the things that does wind me up is a lot of people who want an easy mode in the Dark Souls games wouldn't fucking play the Dark Souls games anyway because they're not interested as it is.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think as much as it may allow some people to beat the game, it won't be a fun game. Honestly, like part of the fun in that game is like a similar experience to going to the gym. I know you go to the gym. The experience, like the first time you go, you suck at everything. It doesn't matter what machine you go to, what thing you pick up. You suck. You don't know how to do the thing. You can't lift much in the beginning. But, then over time you put in the work and you're like, oh, okay, we're starting to get somewhere. And then you see the progression. I don't think you would see that as much if it was just, easier from the get-go, let's say.
I adore that. And I think it's one of the reasons why I find competitive games for like League of Legends and Valorant and everything so appealing to me, because I like seeing myself get better and have that like accolade next to my name that slowly improves over time. I can understand they're not for everybody.
Yeah.
And I can understand that some people outside looking in might be like, well, why would you bother with that? Why would you not play a game for downtime? But there is so much when it comes to gaming that is chilled and easy that I like booting up a game knowing that I'm in for a difficult time.
Right.
And overcoming that. It's an achievement for myself that I don't necessarily have in other areas of my life. So I like having that challenge to just facilitate a little bit of a feel-good feeling that I don't get from anywhere else. Whereas people who do want the easy mode already have other areas of their life where they're getting those feel-good moments. So I guess in some ways it is a bit of an ego boost or a narcissism thing. But, everyone's got to have their something, right?
Yeah, we all like to be challenged in different ways. Some people won't want it from a game, but some of us do, and that's fine. And I just think that the formula of the game would just entirely not work without that piece. I think it's a central piece. Not the difficulty itself, but you're like banging your head against a wall and like trying to, improve, let's say.
Yeah, it's definitely. People find different things within games fun, and that's fine. But I don't see the problem with having a subsection of games that is made for a set of people who clearly like the punishment of the difficulty. It's one of those things that I bring up whenever there's a conversation about it. It's like, great, there's 1,000 games out there that you could play. There are 4 games that have this difficulty in them. So why don't you go away and play those 1,000 games and just leave us with this tiny little fringe of games that we can enjoy?
Yeah, because the limitation is not like a physical one. It's not that if you can't press the button within this tight time frame physically, you won't be able to beat the game. It's not like that at all. It's just a perseverance thing. It's like, if you're
I think
able
in
to
Sekiro, it's maybe a bit more like you've got to press a button at a certain time.
But it's more of a rhythm. Yeah, it is. Of course, it has the rhythm component to it. So yeah, you're right. That one is a bit more, but it never feels like you need like a special response time to be able. It's more like you put in the practice and then you develop, the skill to like foresee attacks and that kind of thing. I think it's much more about that than like, a physical ability, let's say.
I do like Ranch's question is, what is the hardest game you've run up against and you've really fallen in love with? Because Dragon's Lair is a cracking game.
Yeah.
But I don't know if this really counts. Does League of Legends count? It's one of the most difficult games I've ever played.
For me, it's Dota 2, which is, just a similar game. So I totally understand.
The worst version of League of Legends.
Okay. Closing call with Twisty. Never talking again. Okay. I'll let it pass. But, dude, I get you, man. Those games where it's like you see your skill is so clearly shown in games, right? Even though it is a team game, some games you're just going to lose because of your team. A lot of the times it's like, because I got better at this aspect of the game, I am now winning more games. It's so visible when you do improve that. Yeah, it's addictive.
It really is.
Mini Partner says Dota 2 is better. I love you. We're newly best friends or new best friends.
None of my league boys are in chat, so I'm just... It's all right. Chrissy thinks CSGO is better, and we all know she's wrong.
No, I do like League. It's just, we all kind of pick one, right? And we like focus on it. And for me, Dota has like some elements of it that kind of make it pop for me.
Having played League of Legends now, whenever I go to any other MOBA, I'm like, yeah, it's okay, but it's not League.
I will ignore that, Tob, in chat. Okay, we'll just ignore. Here we go, League fanboys. All right. But yeah, man. So how do you feel about Neo? Have you actually played Neo or Neo 2?
I dabbled in the first one a while ago, and it was the aesthetic was really cool, and I was enjoying it. But the big thing that I really dropped me out of the game was the map design. How you complete a mission and then you go to a brand new map, and you complete that mission and go to a brand new map. I didn't like that as much, because the thing I love about Dark Souls is like you open a door, you go up an elevator, and you're world. Like, I'm here. How did I get here? What the hell? And that is such a superb bit of game design from Software.
Dude, I have to agree. I love that, and also like the hub world for me is I really enjoyed that take as well. So if you look at Demons, that also worked very well for me, even though not everything was connected. Yeah, me too. I don't have a PS5 yet, but when that's not a unicorn and people can actually buy them. I know you got your hands on one, and that
I did.
Awesome.
Yeah. Very happy about it. Although I barely play it. There's barely any games where I'm like, I need to be on it, because I'm just playing so much on PC right now.
I mean, Spider-Man is awesome, don't get me wrong, but you can play on PS4. Yeah, for sure.
You can, yeah. I ran it on the 60 FPS mode with ray tracing.
Wow, that's glorious. That's yeah. But there's no other games that I've like had to get my hands on like straight away. Let me tell you this. Let me try a small sales pitch, okay, for Neo 2. It takes the formula of Souls, and it dumps so many cool systems on top. So not only do you have a lot of different weapons, I think it's 9 or 10 weapons. Each weapon you can switch between low, mid, and high stance, and you learn skills. And each skill can drastically change how you play the game. I'll give you an example. Okay, let's say I'm using the spear, and I pick up a new skill, which I did recently, that allows you to like vault with it, almost like the Olympics, right? So now my play style is changing because I can vault over dudes, right?
That's kind of cool,
right? So like new stuff adds and compounds in a really cool way, man. It's so deep and so rich in the game systems. It's like a deep RPG meshed with a Souls combat.
I think it's definitely one I do want to pick up down the line.
Yes.
And
here's the other thing
as well.
The last thing I'll leave you with, the animations, dude, are, I would say they rival Sekiro, or maybe are even more detailed, in the sense that they actually seem in keeping with what martial arts is. So, you know, when you look up like how someone swings a sword, how someone uses those weapons, it's actually like meticulously done. You know, like it's really crazy the level of detail in it. So anyways, I'll leave you with that, dude. I would really recommend you check it out. I know the world building is not, definitely doesn't hold a candle to Souls, but those aspects for me really make it pop.
Okay, I definitely, as we go through these games, I definitely want to pick up a number of them. It's only been since last year that I've really been picking up games and finishing them. Whereas a lot of the time I'd pick up a game, stream it, and if the game wasn't doing well on stream, I'd drop it like it was hot. And that was like a really bad thing for me to do for a while. So now I've got to that point that I am picking up games now, and I am doing a sincere attempt to finish them.
Yeah.
At the moment, we're doing Witcher plus all DLC, and I've realized just how deep I've dug that hole to begin with. We've also got Horizon Zero Dawn planned this year as well.
Ooh. And wait, the new one or the first one?
The first one. I tried 3 times to get through it and struggled to really get into it every time. But this year I've made a promise that I will make a sincere attempt to get through it.
Yeah, I agree with you, Tob. It does innovate, and I love it for that. Does it feel fair, Neo 2? Yes. And what's the best part as well, even bosses where I've had to retry, I think 10 times was the most, I was still like actually having fun and enjoying, even if they had frustrating elements. Yeah. So anyways, big recommendation if you get around to it. But just to quickly go back to streaming, because one thing we talked about behind the scenes was the just chatting choice.
Yeah.
When to do it, whether or not to do it, right? And I think the takeaway from our conversation was that you were doing it like at the start of your streams, but I think you also have a day set aside for just chatting. Is your Monday stream? Forgive me because I can't ever watch it. I stream at the same time. So yeah, is it a just chatting stream on Mondays?
So originally, I got some advice from a friend that just chatting was like one of the fastest growing categories on Twitch, and I would be remiss to have at least attempted it. So I figured, you know what, I'll give it a shot. We made Mondays our just chatting stream where we just chatted for the entire stream, and then we made the initial hour of every other stream just chatting as well, just to keep up with like my viewers, my community, and have a bit of chat time. Unfortunately, honestly, it was a bit more to make it through any game when you're losing an hour from a 3-hour stream is rough. 2 hours into The Witcher and you've barely done anything. You've started the game.
You can't even do a sub quest in 2 hours.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's nothing. So what I've started doing is if I have any topics that I specifically want to cover, for instance, Stream Coach Academy, which we spoke about yesterday, or on Monday, every Monday, we do trailers where we'll check out new trailers and have a chat about video games just to catch up with how everyone's Monday's been, because Monday is obviously a rougher day to normal. I'm also doing a thing where I get loot crates regularly from different companies, and we'll open them and we'll laugh at all the crap that's inside them. And like I find it's a great thing to mix in amongst your gaming streams just for fun, because hell, you're in for a 4-hour stream of me getting my dick kicked in on Dark Souls. Let's start off with at least a little bit of fun before the pain begins.
Yeah, and I think it's different, even though you're pretty good with interacting with people while playing, so you're not like I love Ko, but Ko is like fully into the game, right? Like he is so immersed, like he pays very little attention to what people are saying. Also, he has like thousands of people. But
Yeah,
I'm
once you
just
get to that
saying,
level, it's tough.
it's a different style, right? Where, I think you truly pay a lot of attention to people that speak to you, but it's different when you're like full screen and you're like, hey, I'm here to speak with you. It's almost like weird, the level of intimacy there. But I think people enjoy that. I don't know. I haven't played around with it too much.
So I definitely think it's something that all streamers should take on board once they start the ball rolling and they start getting regulars into their chat, is to make sure there's that connection between you, not only as a streamer, but as the person with your audience. Because at the end of the day, your audience are going to be the folks that are telling their friends about you, boosting you on social media, joining your discords, giving you their money, their hard-earned money. And you should be taking that time, I honestly believe, to spend that time with them and have that dialogue with them. And I think, as great as it is playing a game and having that dialogue with people at the same time, the conversation will always be half-assed because you're playing a game at the same time. It's like, oh, I've started
Oh,
a boss.
yeah.
This conversation now comes to an abrupt stop because I've got to, get my
Yeah,
skull kicked
yeah.
in. And I think setting aside 20 minutes at the start of the stream, half an hour at the start of the stream, just to be like, how's it going, what's everyone been up to, this is how my day's been going, have you seen such and such, and get that initial connection there is so important, so important.
Yeah, I think the other thing that maybe this is one of the things you like about Ko that I get from him, it's like he is so into the game that it makes me want to play the game as well. Like,
Agreed. And
yeah, go on.
I was just gonna say, I think striking a nice balance between that is such a skill and
Yes.
I'm trying to think of the best way of wording it. It's a must for streamers of our size.
Yes.
It's a must.
You need to give both, right?
Yeah.
The gameplay and being engaged in the game systems, but then also engage with people, because if you don't, then that's almost like that's part of why people go to you versus Ko, let's say. It's that engagement.
100%. I think one of the things that I would, regardless of how big I do or don't get, one of the things that I will always endear to do is make sure that I have time set aside in a stream where I talk to my viewer base. And if not in a stream, at least on the Discord. I'm very active in my Discord. I'm very active in my Twitter as well. And always ensure that, we have this ritual on our Discord. Every morning we are, we say good morning to each other, because that might be the only thing people say to each other or to another human being all day. And I think it's a really good way to get into that rhythm of making sure you talk to your peeps. As it were.
100%, dude. And in some ways, you become like a big part of people's lives, because they, they're saying hello to you every day. They are listening to you while they're cooking or in the toilet. You never know, right? Yeah. So it's really cool. Yeah, it's a big honor, man. It's cool.
Yeah, it's definitely great. If you think about like your favorite TV show that you watch, so at the moment I've been binge watching Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Imagine being able to watch it and chat with the cast at the same time. Like it's unreal. Yeah. And I think if you don't take or make the most of that ability to just chat with people, then you kind of shooting yourself in the foot, as it were.
Another thing that we talked about behind the scenes is the viewer count and how that can mess up with your energy, right? Looking at that. So I think you've said you're trying to no longer look at it. By the way, Wrench, thanks for the 5 gifted subs, man. Very generous. Yeah. I really appreciate it, Wrench. Thank you, man. Yes. So for that, how do you think about the viewer count? Because I know some people are monitoring it closely to see if they do something correctly or wrong.
So I'd be lying straight up if I said that I didn't look at the viewer count. Like, that's
you
just
take
fact.
peeks.
Yeah, I take peeks. If I'm on a break and I walk through the other room and Emma's got my stream open on a laptop, I'll look at what the viewer count is. If I, alt tab and it's open, I'll glance. You can't not. It's nails. It's just impossible not to. I think the thing that I am trying hardest to now, though, is make sure that after the stream, the average viewer count doesn't get me down, because throughout the stream, like, I'm gonna be busy, I'm gonna miss highs and lows because I'm doing stuff. I'm very lucky in the fact that my chat is constantly busy, so I might not have very many viewers, but I have people who are there wanting to talk to me, wanting to have a chat and enjoy the entertainment that I'm trying to provide.
Yeah.
But the biggest thing that I am trying to do now is, once I finish a stream and I look on Twitch Tracker or Solid Gnome or even on Twitch itself, I look at that average viewer count and try and make sure that aspect of the numbers doesn't get to me. Again, I would be lying through my teeth if I said it didn't. But then I think any streamer worth their salt, if they turn around and were like, no, it doesn't get to me, they're lying.
I think they're lying as well to themselves or to everybody. I don't know. That's a bigger, deeper question. But I've taken note of that since you said it. And I have hidden the viewer count. So, in OBS, you can just hide the viewer count, right? Yeah. And I've done that. And actually, I'm liking it because it's almost impossible to avoid your mind going oh, the viewership is down today. What happened, right? Is it a bad show? Did I fuck up? Your mind goes to those places, even if rationally, it's probably not up to you. It's randomness and people having to take a shit and drop off or whatever.
My mods have had to have that conversation with me more times than I think any of them have ever wanted to. And Troy makes a very good point that we all started streaming with 0 viewers for a long time, and everything bigger than that is a bonus and a blessing. But there is, especially for the likes of myself, I'm not quite sure if this is the same for you, Johnny, but as somebody who wants to make a career out of this, not seeing that perpetual line going up and up and up, regardless of how slow that uphill is, you want to see it going up, and the second it starts going down, you're like, what did I do? What did I do?
Right. So that's where I do look at it but as you say, the average and over time. So I am concerned with my key indicators looking healthy in terms of progression and over time, right? So if in a week all of my shows got very little traction, let's say, I might think, okay, maybe I need to tweak something, right? What were those shows? What did I do in them? Do I maybe need to spice them up with something different? But on the flip side, if I see things doing just well, I try to just stay the course and just do small tweaks, basically.
Yeah.
And not lose it over, today the viewer count is 3-5 lower than my average.
Yeah. I think that's something that I have failed to do for a significant chunk of my time on Twitch. Is I will constantly be moving on to the next thing. So I will be like, right, this worked, but now what? And I'll be like, right, what do I pull up next? What do I do next? What do I do next? And it's been to the detriment of my viewership. So my highest peak now, to be completely transparent, was an average of 38 in a month, which was in October. And then I was super proud of that. Have I hit it since? No. The reason for this is because I started changing things. I was like, right, that's great. Now let's keep adding to it so we can get higher. And then we'll add to that so we can get higher. The only problem is that wasn't what was working for me. What was working for me was the stuff I was already doing. And instead of going, this is working, let's keep going, lads, I was like, right, let's change everything and make it even better, which was not the case. It was making it worse.
So do you think that comes down to things you were doing on stream, or more like the presentation and maybe changing, graphics and things like that?
So it was primarily what I was doing as a person. I was like, right, okay, well, this has got us this far. Let's examine other people who are in places that I want to be and extrapolate from them what works for them and work it into my own stuff. And that didn't work, because then I was fundamentally kind of sort of undermining who I was and the reason people were there. So there was like a mass exodus because I wasn't the same person that they had originally come for. I realized this again thanks to some help from some friends, and sort of pulled back very, very quickly, slamming the brakes in terms of that. And another big thing, which Choi does outline in his comments, is in a variety stream, you always have ups and downs because you change games so often. And I was doing that a lot. I came back from a break after we did a 24-hour stream. We do one every October for charity, which is 24 hours of horror games. I came back from that and proceeded to play like 7 different games in the space of 7 different streams. Nobody is going to stick around for that. If you are a variety streamer, fundamentally, you need to pick a game like The Witcher, BioShock, or something which, has some life to it and some legs to it. Play through that for the entirety, because if Joe Blog shows up for one stream, enjoys the hook that you've got, and BioShock, they'll come for the next stream. And throughout the entire playthrough of that game, you have those games to make sure they're ingrained with you and not the game. And then that way, being a variety streamer can be a little bit more trackable because you can make that personal connection.
Absolutely. And another strategy that has worked for me is like delving into deep games for a while. So I might say, I'm doing like Monster Hunter for a season. So I might do like, I don't know if I did like 2 months of Monster Hunter, but I went deep, So like from zero to hero, and then the people that stuck with me, right? They really enjoyed it. And then they also a lot of them stuck for what was next, even though they maybe weren't interested in the game. Yeah. So I think you can like delve into these microcosms, whether it's Monster Hunter, Final Fantasy 14, League, you name it, right? And you live there for a while, right? You cultivate some people that like you, and they come to like you beyond the game as well, right? For your stuff. And then when you move on, boom, you can transfer some people over. However, if you do it over the course of a week, people are gonna be like, "What the fuck? This guy's like streaming Subnautica in one day and like And I have done that a few times, but as you, I've also come to try to like be a bit more like, hey, we're doing this for a while.
Yeah. So I liken it a lot to being a DJ. Probably the best example that I can give. When you're a DJ, a track has a certain tempo, and you have to line up tempos to make sure that when you change between tracks, there is some consistency. That's how you play a good DJ set. When it's very much the same for streaming. Say, for instance, you played Monster Hunter, and then to go to Neo, you're seeing a lot of the parallels between these two games because there are these connecting fibers. For instance, using a spear and leaping over people. If you use a spear in Monster Hunter, you can do the same thing. So a bit of a tenuous link, but let's run with it.
Right.
So you can build that connection between games. So not only if a lot of people watch you play a game for a long, long time, for instance, Monster Hunter, and then you go to Neo, they're going to have been so ingrained with you while you were playing Monster Hunter. And then because you've swapped to Neo, it isn't something like a fish out of water situation. It's like, oh, okay, I kind of get that this is kind of like a game that I already enjoyed watching. So I'm kind of into it still.
Yeah.
Whereas I've seen people who on a Monday they'll play, I don't know, City Skylines. On a Tuesday they'll play God of War, and then on a Wednesday they'll play CS:GO, and their audience is just like, I don't know whether I'm coming or going.
Right.
Because there's no connection here.
Yeah. And it's okay to do like one stream something different, right? Hey, today we're doing like a multiplayer thing. I know you do Sea of Thieves with your community sometimes and that kind of thing.
Yep.
To shake it up, that's fine. But if it's like every day it's, disconnected, right? It's hard to...
It's like burnout with everything. If you keep doing the same thing over and over again, you do burn out. So I personally like to make sure, it's why I have FML Fridays, so that on a Friday I'm playing a different game to what I'm playing on the other days.
It's perfect, FML, because you're playing those games that it's great.
Yeah, exactly. And then the last Friday of every month is my community night where we play something like marbles or something where we can Jackbox, get everyone together and just have some fun with it. And again, that breaks the monotony of playing the same game constantly, but also introduces a community element.
Yeah,
as well.
Exactly. Yeah. Troy has a question that I wanted to ask you as well. Have you dealt with, let's say you start a big game. Okay, I'm going to play The Witcher. Just to give an example. And what happens if you stop enjoying it? Do you consider like wrapping the playthrough early
Sometimes.
without finishing the game?
So one of my concerns about playing Witcher is exactly that. It's a long game. Like we're
Yes.
talking 60 plus hours, especially with the 2 DLCs.
Basically a marriage.
Yeah.
You're whipped.
So yeah, hugely, man. Like and recently I got the ability to play Hitman 3. So we stopped The Witcher, we played Hitman 3, and we went back to Witcher afterwards. You know, it didn't stop my enjoyment.
I think that's a great solution. Because you say, hey guys, we're doing a hiatus, right? This thing came up, this opportunity came up, we're gonna do a bit of Hitman, and then we'll go back. Right? You come back re-energized, and it's all good.
Definitely. A lot of time you can capture that passion back. But if it comes to one of those games, I think more so than passion, but it's a game that you straight up don't like. So I got really excited for a game called Avengers, which you guys may be aware of.
Yeah, we don't talk about Avengers. It was one of the biggest disappointments.
So obviously, comic book dude, comic book stuff, Avengers game comes out. There couldn't be a more perfect.
It broke my heart. I remember your video, dude. You did this fucking video where you were fucking excited for the game.
Yeah, dude.
Like, it's gonna be awesome. And then it just wasn't.
That I've never lived that down. So basically what happened was I played through the storyline. I gave the content that was there. And then when it came to multiplayer, I was like, guys, I'm just not feeling it. And then I moved on. And I think one of the most prime foundational things you should always remember as a streamer is it's your show. Yeah. It is your stream. It is your home. So, and this feeds into so many different aspects of streaming. First and foremost, to cover the game aspect of it, because that's what we're talking about now. If you get to a point with a game where you are not feeling it, because you're not feeling it, you don't want to play it anymore, not because it's affecting your numbers, or not because, you know, some people has come into chat and be like, man, this game's shit, but you as a player are not enjoying it anymore, switch games, like categorically, because you cannot put out the content that you want people to receive if you're sat there being like, I can't be fucked, and that will damage your stream at the very core, because it will stop you wanting, because it'll be a chore, and you never want it to be a chore. And then the other aspects of remembering that it's your stream is if somebody turns up in your chat and is a dick, get rid of them. Don't think, oh, I want to keep them because, you know, they're an extra viewer. Yay, the viewer count's gone up. No, get rid. And then the other one, which I've had to learn again recently, is if you say for instance, you set up something with channel points, or you're doing a charity stream where you're eating disgusting beans for £1 or whatever, make sure you put a line in the sand and remind people that you aren't a monkey, and because they pressed a button, monkey does dance.
Yes.
That you have to ensure, and I mean ensure, that you keep some dignity and some self-respect about yourself going through it, because it will wear you down. I have done multiple charity streams, and I have had multiple channel points. For instance, so I had a channel point of redemption, or a stream loots redemption, which is another thing entirely, but regardless, where they were all based on comic book stuff. And one of them was something called I Am Groot. If you played the card, I had to say, and could only say, I am Groot for originally 3 minutes, but I dialed it back to a minute. But there wasn't a proper timer on it. So people could play 3 of these cards, and I'd still have to say I am Groot for 3 minutes. And then if people kept playing more, I couldn't stop. And that fundamentally damaged my confidence.
Yeah.
And damaged the stream. And I realized very quickly that was a mistake. But it was a hard lesson to learn.
It's a very hard lesson. The balance of how much control you give to the audience over what your content is and what you do. It's you want to give them some, for sure, because you want them to feel, you know, some impact over what's going on, right? And you want it to be interactive, for sure. But as you say, if that dynamic develops where they see that you will just like do anything, basically, it gets weird. I've seen some weird charity stuff, and it's all for charity, so, you know, it's for a good cause, but but like where people are really just like demeaning themselves, and it's like, dude, you know, you gotta think it through. Like, this is actually having a lasting impact on how people perceive you.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, so one of the things that I have currently is set me a challenge. So for a certain amount of channel points, you can set me a challenge in a game, and I have to adhere to that. However, at the moment, it is one of those things where it's like, okay, no healing, and it's like, well, that's fine, but I know straight away from an entertainment point, this is going to be 5 minutes of not being entertaining because it's going to be me dying on repeat, and that's it. That is something that I'm seeing really often. The challenge that is always set is don't heal, don't block, don't attack, use a specific attack, and it's like, man, these really aren't that interesting challenges. So now it's like, well, I have to go back to the drawing board again now.
Yeah. Maybe you gotta limit it, right? Like maybe it's one of those things, but not all three, or I don't know, like, or something unique where you have to use a specific weapon.
It's a choice question. It's an interesting question. He asks, do you guys think there's possibility and space on Twitch to have YouTube style content, like doing quick looks at games live for people, maybe showcasing 3 games in 3 hours on one stream? No.
Well, let me push back a little.
I don't think so.
Yes and no. If you literally do what you said, no. However, here's what you can do. You're in a stream, so your stream is maybe 3 hours, you're playing a game, and then there's a segment in your stream where you're gonna do a quick look at something, right? So you stop the game, you go into like full screen, and you talk about that game or whatever it is, and then you record that while you do so, and then you upload that as a standalone video to YouTube with a good thumbnail, good title, and that's evergreen content. People, 1 year from now might find that shit and might say, hey, that guy is cool. Let me go check out his Twitch. That works.
So I categorically would choose to watch a YouTuber over a Twitch stream which has been regurgitated onto YouTube.
Yeah, but sometimes you can't actually tell. Like if you do it well, it looks like quality content. Let me give you an example of like a big streamer who does this. The Alpha Gaming channel, they do it all the time over there. And it doesn't mean that it's, you may say, for you don't like those videos as much. I get that, but I'm saying it's viable. So like it works.
Don't get me wrong.
And
it's viable, but I think
you need to change. I get what you're saying, Twisty, that it does feel like, it's different if you do something expressly for YouTube. However, for me, what I've developed is, when I start that recording, I know that I'm making a YouTube video with a live Twitch audience. So I think you need to change your brain mechanism for when you do that. You're going YouTube mode for that. So even if it's going to be just 10 minutes where you're speaking about that game, you're doing a YouTube video, but you're doing it live, right? And then later, if you want to edit it or, or do something like that, you can do it as well.
See, I think that does depend on your streaming style. As somebody who puts interaction paramount above anything else,
yes.
If I was to suddenly switch to a YouTube mode, I think that would be detracting from my content. What I would rather do is do something where I do a 10-minute YouTube video. So, for instance, to grab an example out of the air, let's just say a game that I've been watching recently, which is Darkwood. So do 10 minutes of Darkwood showing off what it is, and then instead flip it and be like, if you want to see the full playthrough, swing by Twitch, and we'll be starting it on, over on Twitch, which is I think in reverse to what you've been doing. I think in Choi's example, where it's 3 games in 3 hours, categorically wouldn't work. I don't think, unless you've already got a big thing, or you have set aside a day and you have advertised that. What I think would be better, say for instance, you want to do an indie game, set up, say you stream 4 days a week, set up your Sunday, indie Sunday. So on Sunday, you pick one of those 3 games and you play that game for Sunday to showcase it. If you want to play, and then the next week you take another one of those 3 games, and the next week you take another one of those 3 games, and you have that indie showcase. They're one-hit wonders that you can use to test the water. Hey, you might play it on Sunday and your average view count might smash up to 70 because you're playing that game. So it's like, hey, this has worked. I now know maybe I'll do a series on this. So then you either do a series for YouTube or you pick it up as your main game on Twitch. And it's definitely a great way for exploration. For instance, I did Century Age of Ashes recently because I had beta access. Did it for a Friday stream just because I could instead of Bloodborne, and we were hitting 50, 60 viewers. So I know when that game lands, I'm going to do some streams on it because I showed it off. My chat enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. And I got to showcase the game that I thought was going to be cool. But I took that entire stream to do it. I looked at stopping and starting Bloodborne, but I actually thought that would be a detractor. A lot of people have got here now to see that game. So why would I stop? Like my foundational audience is already enjoying it, so may as well continue.
That makes perfect sense. Just to clarify something, because just based on what Chrissy is saying, I think maybe what I said wasn't clear. I am not saying that I ignore chat for 10 minutes while doing a YouTube video live. I actually don't modify my style of streaming, and I think you wouldn't have to either. What I'm saying is, during those 10 minutes, I have very clearly in mind that I'm making a YouTube video. So I try to, for example, if something comes up in chat and I think it can be interesting, I bring it into the conversation. But I'm trying to make these like more bite-sized content pieces. So let me give you an example, okay? Just food for thought. If you feel free to not take it on board if you think it doesn't work for you, just my suggestion, right? Let's say that you were talking about the Coach Academy drama, right, yesterday. You could have hit record, and it doesn't matter that you're talking to chat during that. That doesn't spoil a YouTube video for me personally, and for a lot of people. Maybe for you it does. Again, just my opinion. So you could have like a bite-sized video of your take on the Coach Academy thing, and that goes on YouTube with a good thumbnail, good title, evergreen. People can find it forever, right? And like that, you could do it for many things, right? Hey, your take on Avengers, your take on whatever thing just happened in game that reminded you of something else, So just food for thought, because here's the big thing. It's very low cost for you to do because you're doing it anyway on stream. You're taking pieces that represent your stream very accurately because, again, you're not changing your style in a big way. So if people like that video, there's a 100% transfer between that and your actual content on Twitch. And people know that because they see the chat on your video. They know they can go to you for more. So anyways, just, just leaving it out there as food for thought.
It's definitely an interesting take. Maybe I'll test it and get back to you on what my experience of it is.
Right.
Normally at the moment, I do streaming and I do YouTube. And when I record a YouTube video, I'm in a very different mindset to
I do that too. I do that too. But let me know if it, if anything comes out of it. I'd be interested to hear.
Yeah, I'll give it a shot.
Good. Okay, listen, now I'm cognizant of your time. We're going up against that hard barrier. So I want to, before I ask you my final question, do you want to pimp out anything on your channel that's going on that you haven't mentioned?
No, I pretty much mentioned everything that we're doing. We're back on Sunday with a Bloodborne stream starting at 3 p.m. GMT. We've currently got a community goal to get a 12-hour stream going. If we succeed, we're going to do all of the Little Nightmares games, including DLC, back to back. And that's it so far. I've got no big things to really shout out going on, apart from the stream itself.
Okay, awesome. And people can check out your stream via that link. And if you're listening in the podcast, there's a link in the show notes as well. Here's my final question, my dude. What is the one thing you're targeting? The one thing that you would like people to remember you by if they visit your stream? I guess some people would call it their brand. But for you, what is that one quality, that one thing?
My charming smile. The one thing that I would like everyone to take away from my stream when they come to it is a place for nerds, where the term nerd is a compliment rather than a condescension. It is somewhere people can come and be themselves in the purest form and just enjoy each other's company, build friendships or more, and just have an absolute blast playing video games and being nerdy together.
And that is a beautiful message. TwistyShape, thanks for being on the show, man. Take care.
Thank you so much for having me, man. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Pleasure. Take care. Bye.
Take care, dude. Bye.